is a distinct privilege to address our men and women in uniform at the beginning of yet another year. No doubt, it is one full of promise and expectation, as it is full of challenge and trepidation. A young woman has, at the start of the new year, wrote on a Facebook page, "This is my year. I declare and receive my blessing." Maande daarna sterf sy skielik en tragies, ever so painfully and suddenly. Perhaps the end, here at our beginning, should remind us once more of how unexpected the end really is. All that is certain are two things. The end will certainly come, and the end is not really the end. But then, in terms of what will it be phrased when we too are faced with our demise as she was? There is plenty of precedent across the pages of time when famous people were facing their last moments. Frank Sinatra ended his life by saying, "I'm losing." Bessie Smith said, "I'm going, but I'm going in the name of the Lord." Bob Marley said, "Money can't buy life." And Lady Diana apparently said, "My God, what has happened?" Whatever your station in or your conception of life, the end will inevitably involve an assessment of life. The conclusion can either be as blessed as that of Bessie Smith or as that of Paul. Alternatively, it could be as haunting as that of Lady Di or Bob Marley or of Solomon. Perhaps it is worthwhile, facing the start as we do, to once more reflect on the biblical summary presented in both the New and the Old Testament about a reflection of life as it is fading away. In the case of Solomon, he said, "All is vanity." In contrast, Paul proclaimed, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the course. I have kept the faith." Two distinct summaries, two separate reflections, and each coming to a different conclusion. The one concluded, life itself is in vain. It has no meaning and no purpose. As a result, at the end of it, there is no expectation of reward or of punishment for that matter. As a consequence, he asked, what does it matter? What is its purpose? Earlier he said, "I have accumulated much, did much, saw much, and enjoyed much. But of everything that was worthwhile in this life, of everything that I have gained and accumulated, I can't take anything with. So the purpose of my life was at best questionable, and at its worst, it was in vain." Such was Solomon's conclusion. It stands in direct contradiction of the conclusion Paul has reached. At the end of his own life, hear what Paul said, "My life is pretty much over, but I have finished the race. Indeed, At the end of it, when all was said and done, I can boldly testify I have kept the faith. As a result, for me is laid up a crown, a beautiful reward which the Lord Himself will give unto me. How did they manage to come to such opposing conclusions? They were granted the same life, they enjoyed the same breath, they were exposed to the same wisdom and religious tradition. Why then was one's life described in terms of vanity and the other as a glorious blessing, even till the end? You too, I'm sure, can identify with this. Two people growing up in the same family, in the same house, coming from the same street or the same class. The one's life is completely wasted, and the other, as I trust yours will always be, a great blessing to your family, your employer, and your community. The answer lies in this verse. There is a time to reap and there is a time to sow. Solomon has enjoyed what he wanted. He has sown in the flesh all the pleasures of the flesh. At the end of his life, he could reap nothing of eternal value. His sole focus was what this life can provide and how to enjoy it to the fullest. Therefore, the sad conclusion that his life was but vanity was the result of his own choice. Paul has shown that he chose to sow in the Spirit. His life was dedicated to the pursuit of meaning, of purpose, and of purpose in Christ. So, at some point he said, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Regardless of his cynical conclusion, Solomon was not unaware of his purpose in life. He knew what he was supposed to do. In fact, he himself said, "Serve God and follow His commandments," which is the duty of all humanity. I'm sure you too, like all young people, know that you were born with a purpose. And that purpose, regardless of what the world says, is found in Christ. Sadly, a pervasive sense of meaningless has become systemic in our culture. We seem to be a people at war with ourselves, on the road of self-destruction. And life has become bleak and endless, and a hopeless search for inner peace and for meaning. The problem is, we seek meaning in the very things that teach us that meaning does not exist. Our culture has taught us that this life is all there is. Enjoy it while you can. It will soon be over. But the emptiness deep inside of us cannot be filled with vanity. If we try, it will simply worsen the sense of disappointment and inadequacy deep inside of us. Because the world has proven to be a space of perennial disappointment and endless danger. It is a source of paralyzing agony and great worry, a space where our young are slaughtered and our elderly are murdered. And you know why? We have jettisoned our universal duty described by Solomon: fear God and keep His commandments. we have forgotten him, and so we are teetering on the brink of collapse, one precipitated by our own behavior. As young people sitting in front of me today, you know very well that the world has provided any elixir, any form of entertainment, and any avenue to satisfy your soul. Sex, music, gadgets, learning, and money all are available in abundance and with ease, not experienced by previous generations. In the face of so much privilege, morality and principle were sacrificed on the altar of permissiveness and selfishness. Today, if you are a young person still believing in the sanctity of marriage, if you believe in virginity and that your body belongs to God, you are looked upon as a crazy, strange, and despicable misfit. You don't belong. You are treated as an outcast. Young people has lost not only the sense of right and wrong, they have rejected the wisdom to distinguish between right and wrong. And so we have lost our purpose and our meaning in life. This is a truly sad and difficult time to live in. However, you young, on whose shoulders rests the burden to care for our community in times of calamity and crisis, let me remind you of what the Bible said. Firstly, your body is indeed a temple of God. Secondly, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. May the Lord be with you.